Right, I'm just going to have a quick talk about AI, the fourth industrial revolution, and human-centered places, because that's what we're obviously here to talk about. I put this slide in here because I wanted to give you an idea of what the first industrial revolution felt like to Victorians. This is Rain, Steam, Speed by Turner, painted in 1844, just after the Great Western Railway was opened. Now, steam engines transformed Victorian society as dramatically as artificial intelligence and other technologies are going to transform our society. And this painting gives you that feeling of the future rushing towards us, but it's all a bit of a blur. But nevertheless, there's this sort of feeling of palpable excitement of the world moving really fast, and isn't that interesting? Now, the thing about the world moving fast is the world is actually moving much, much faster than almost anyone thinks about. This curve is the rise in the speed of training neural networks. And neural networks are foundational for artificial intelligence. And you'll see between 2013 and 2016, they increased in the training of them, increased in speed 60 times, which is absolutely extraordinary. If you think of Moore's law, everyone talks about Moore's law, which is why computing, essentially Moore's law is that the speed of computers doubles every 18 months, 2 years. And it's held for 50 years. It's why we've gone from PCs to smartphones, and why the iPhone 10 is 120 odd times faster than the first iPhone was within just 10 years. And whenever you see the exponential curve slide, that's normally Moore's law. Now, Moore's law against what is happening in artificial intelligence processing would be very, very low along the bottom. So what is happening in artificial intelligence is much, much faster than anything we've known before, which is why you get things like computer vision, so face recognition, understanding people in a crowd, has gone from what I call useless to a utility in just a matter of years. In 2010, there was a 28% error rate, so pretty useless, really. Interesting, but pretty useless. By 2017, we're down to a 2.2% error rate. And not only a 2.2% error rate, you can do it with hundreds of thousands of people in real time. Now, there's downsides to this. This is actually a clip from a Chinese system. Chinese are really rather over-keen in computer vision and are pretty well tracking the whole country in real time. But sort of forget that, because there's benign ways you can use this. But the point is, you can now point a camera at the world and it can understand it. It's the same reason that speech recognition has gone from useless to utility. And in fact, it's gone even faster, and it's gone absolutely faster because of that speed of 60 times in 3 years. So in 2013, it was 23% word error rate, which is the factor that they used to describe speech recognition accuracy. And that's down to less than 5% by 2017. 5% is human level. So we're better than human level at speech recognition, which of course is exactly why, at exactly the same time, Alexa and these smart speakers suddenly popped up. It's because they suddenly could. It's a really important thing to understand that a lot of people think technology follows behavior. They think that, society decides that it wants to have this sort of capability, and then someone goes and invents it. It doesn't work like that. Technological innovation happens when technological innovation can happen. It's purely a tech process. As more capabilities come up, then we find ways to use them, which is exactly this. This product is a response to technology. Now, in terms of AI, so you've got computer vision and understanding language, two big things with AI. 3 other areas of AI that are extremely important: knowledge, reasoning, planning. Knowledge is assimilating lots of different data sources. Very, very good if you have lots of different data sources and you want to understand correlations and causations between them. AI is really good at that. Reasoning, AI is really good at reasoning. Reasoning is essentially if this, then that. But you can obviously get really, really sort of complicated and sophisticated versions of if this, then that. And planning. Planning is why sat-nav is so good now. It's why you can say, I want to go from Warsaw to London, and it can just work it out for you. So those are the 5 main areas of AI that are really, really important, which is actually, these 5 areas of AI have actually now given businesses 6 new capabilities which they can exploit. And these are the 6 principal main uses for AI, and they're now available in various ways to pretty well any business. First off, you can automate processes. It's becoming very easy. Anything that is structured, repeatable, or predictable can be automated. Now, one thing to bear in mind as you're doing that is, in many cases, you're better to not automate the way you did things in the past. You should automate a new way of doing things that takes advantage of the new capabilities. You can understand what is happening in pictures and videos, which is why we get, obviously you can get video search is so good, picture search is so good. Yes, that is a cat, et cetera, becomes really good. Optimizing complex system. What is the built environment if not a complex system? AI is going to help us understand and optimize the built environment in a way we never could before. Creating content is going to be very, very common. Creating content is going to be one of the big things that's going to go out of the workforce is people doing report writing. So if you think of the number of people whose job it is to do, say, monthly reports, so they go and have a talk to this person, and then they get an Excel spreadsheet from that person, and they get some text from that person, and they sit down and they stick it all in a PowerPoint presentation, and they spend a day doing it, print it off as a PDF, and there it goes. You're not going to be doing any of that. All these different systems are going to start to be able to talk to each other. Someone will design, the human will design and develop the template, the question they want answered. They will build a template, and then the technologists will plug in the different systems which will allow us to automatically create reporting. Reporting is going to go from a manual, ad hoc, monthly, weekly process to essentially pervasive and real time. Understanding people using languages. It came up before about the Google Duplex is going to be able to do the same thing in Polish very soon. It can do it in Mandarin. That, again, is a response to that incredible 60 times increase in training speed in 3 years. And making predictions. If you know nothing about AI and you're not inclined to want to know anything more about it, the one thing to know is AI is all about reducing the cost of making predictions. If you think about just everything we do in business, it involves responding and making predictions. Should I build that building? Who is going to let that building? Is anyone going to buy my product? How many people are going to enter that area next Friday? It's all predictions. It's all probability. Put together all these tools, and there's going to be more and more things that we're going to be able to make good, probabilistic predictions about. AI will not tell you the answer. It will come back and it will give you options. Reducing the cost of prediction gives you more options. It gives you options in the sense of, you want to do this, you told me you want to do this, here's 5 different ways you could do it, all of them meet your criteria, you now choose. Reducing the price of prediction. Just think about it. Anytime you've got a task to do, think, is this a prediction task? And then think, in that case, there's probably things you can do with technology to do it. McKinsey last year put out this. Overall, we estimate that 49% of the activities that people are paid to do in the global economy have the potential to be automated by adapting currently demonstrated technology. 49% paid currently demonstrated technology. There's no getting away from it. There's a huge amount of tasks that we are able now to automate. Great. Structured, repeatable, predictable, dull, dangerous, or dreary. Think about anything that is dull, dangerous, dreary, structured, repeatable, predictable. We don't have to do that anymore. But it's really important to understand AI because all technologies tend towards monopolies. It's why you had IBM, and then you had Microsoft, and then you had Google, and then you had MySpace, and then you have Facebook. Every dog has its day, as we say, and technology tends towards giving people monopoly powers. AI gives people monopoly powers much faster and more defensible, quicker. So anything that starts fitting in that structured, repeatable, predictable, dull, dreary, dangerous, that you can start thinking of, it's wise to start thinking about how can we use that rapidly to work on it. Because the point is, everyone has access to the same computing power nowadays, effectively. Everyone's going to have access to the same algorithms. What they don't have access to is the same data. So the people, and the reason it's called machine learning is it learns. So whoever gets there first and builds up gets a flywheel of data coming into their system is going to have a very strong, powerful position, which is great, of course, if you are that person. Not so good if you're trying to compete with that person. So the takeaway from all this is essentially all change, all change. The nature of work, what this means is that the work we do is changing. It's not the way we work that's changing, it's the work we do. And as I say, structured, repeatable, predictable, that's automated. That's the 49% of tasks. And as work changes, so will demand. People will demand different things as the work we do changes. But, there's a big but here, there's something missing from structured, repeatable, predictable. Something really big. And of course, it's creation. Repeat. That's what we do. Now, the whole point is, you cannot make anything structured, repeatable, or predictable unless you've created it in the first place. Computers can't create. I mean, forget there's a caveat, and they might be able to sometime in the future. But as of now, essentially, you can say computers are not creative. Humans are creative, which is our big strength. Now, Picasso had a great saying. He said, computers are useless. All they can do is give you answers. And that is the absolutely fundamental point here. All this technology is great, but as it stands at the moment, and as it stands for the next 5, 10, 15, whoever, more years than you need to really worry about, they cannot, all they can do is give you answers. They can't ask the questions. So if you look at it this way, flip all this up the other way around. Don't think of it in terms of, oh, all these machines are going to put us out of work. Think of it, it's like the washing machine. This is fantastic. I don't have to do all this stuff anymore. Structured, repeatable, predictable is automated. That's old work. All this high-tech, modern work, that's old work. Let the machines do that. It's commodity. Everyone can get that done. What do? We do new work. And new work is human work. And new work is design. It's imagination, it's inspiration, it's creation, it's empathy, intuition, innovation, collaboration, and most important of all, social intelligence. Social intelligence is this. Social intelligence is meeting in London and a couple of months later being over here. It's talking, it's working together. It's knowing that I can't work with that person, but I can work with this person, and put those people together. They really work well together. Don't put those people together. They're not going to work together. Social intelligence is so incredibly important. So, because we're now doing new work, the age of old work is older. Now, this is a great example of old work. This is from the Jack Lemmon film, The Apartment, in 1960, so 58 years ago. This was when the office was basically a spreadsheet. If you look at that, that's how offices used to be laid out. There are, unfortunately, still some offices that are laid out not that differently. If you think about it, every one of those is like a cell in a spreadsheet. Someone doing something structured, repeatable, or predictable. Essentially, the office was Excel. Hurrah, that's gone. So if you design an office around old work, it will be obsolete. So if you're creating anything new, it'll be obsolete, or if you have anything that is set up for old work, it's going to be obsolete. The future-proof office has to be designed for new work. So I love saying this one because everyone gets really, really cross. So it for years, the office is dead. Sorry, it is dead. But again, whoopee, great. Long live the Imaginarium. What is the Imaginarium? Well, that's where we go for new work. That's where we go where we have spaces that have been designed to catalyze all our human skills. And that's the really important thing. So spaces that are designed for this new work, not the old work. And I call them Imaginariums because the only point in being there is to create something, is to imagine something, to inspire and do something innovative. Now, I think what is going to happen, I'm using this quotation, this is from Ernest Hemingway's book, The Sun Also Rises, where one of his characters was asked, how did you go bankrupt? And he said, two ways, gradually, then suddenly. And that's how this world is going to change. If you use the example of WeWork, WeWork upsets UK real estate companies no end, because the big UK real estate companies essentially haven't increased any value in the last 7 years. WeWork has created $20 billion out of value. And now they're the biggest occupier in London. 17% of all space in take-up in London is flexible spaces. It's really gone from, oh, that old spreadsheet world office, that was fine until boom. This is not going to be a gradual change. It's going to be suddenly, it's what happens with an exponential curve. You know, talk about lily ponds. You know the thing about lily ponds, it starts really small. And if a lily pond is completely covered in lilies after 50 days, when was it 50% covered? Of course, the answer is 49 days. Boom. You get that cut-off point. Now, this was interesting. Google did this report called Workplace 2020, and this was done in 2015. And in 2015, they said flexible working will be the defining characteristic of the future workplace. And what they found was they surveyed lots of different companies, and they found the bigger the company with the larger number of staff, the higher the percentage of flexible working respondents came back to the survey. So they were saying that for companies that employed more than 6,000 people, up to 10%, there was flexible working 10% in 2015, and they said it'd be 66% by 2018. Now, I remember this coming out in 2015, and everyone went, oh, that's stupid, that's ridiculous, there's not going to be anything like that. Well, this was from a research report in Hong Kong in March this year that said 56% of Asia's top 200 occupiers, so okay, not 60%, 56%, are already using flexible workspace in some capacity, and 91% are considering using them. Dum, 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 boom. So all of this leads to, I think, to new business models, which are all going to be completely centered around human, they're going to be human-centered business models. So the 6 really important things are going to be the operator of the space is going to make a real difference. You're going to have 2 identical buildings. One is managed with a new work mindset and to enable flexible work and provide lots of additional high-value human-centered services, and the other is going to be managed in a traditional way. There's going to be a big difference in valuation, I think. Flexibility of tenure is going to be the norm. If you're in the investment business, sorry, but the world of real estate as a bond has gone or is going. It's not going to be valued as a bond. It's going to be valued as a business. I actually think you'll make more money out of a business, but the point is it won't be a bond. Space is going to be aligned with activity. As we do this new work, we do roughly half of the work we do in the day, according to Gensler, the architects, is private work, and about roughly half is communal work. But there's about 14 different types of activity that are quite common in lots of offices. And I think you're going to find lots of spaces where you have the space that is aligned with the activity you need. So if you need a quiet space, there will be somewhere for you to do a quiet space. If you want a small meeting room, there'll be a small meeting room. If you want a big meeting room, there'll be one. If you want an event space, there'll be an event space. Now, you might not be renting this yourself, but the building will enable you to buy it on demand. So that high-quality services are available on demand. As I say, it's interesting. In the City of London, which everyone sees gleaming towers and everything, everyone always thinks, oh, it's big companies. There's actually only 205 companies in the City of London that employ more than 250 people. 70% of all occupied units in the City of London are less than 10,000 square feet. 50% are less than 5,000 square feet. The large majority of occupied units are small, and small units are not able, even if they have the inclination, to provide all these different types of spaces that we need now. So I think what you're going to get, that person who used to take 10,000 square feet will probably take 7,000 square feet in the future. They're paying more for it, but they're still less than the 10,000. You will be able to for different activities as and when they need them. So if they need an event space, they use the buildings ones. If they need a podcast room, they use the buildings ones, etc., etc. That's what space as a service is really all about. Hotel, office, retail, home use, it's all going to blur. One purpose, one mission, doesn't matter where you were, manage for outputs, work wherever you want, get that mission and purpose right in the first place. But that's all the good human stuff. The marrying with technology and liberal arts is the last point, where everything is informed by data, whether it's physical data about the building, spatial data about how people use our building, temporal data about how people use our buildings and our assets at different times of day, and personal data. Who's using it? What type of person are they? What is the job they are trying to do? This data is going to become absolutely pervasive in the same way as we're going to become pervasively human. Now, the most important thing to remember from all this technology is human plus machine must be the default. Garry Kasparov was the first, he was a chess grandmaster who lost to Deep Blue in 1997. He knew then that the game was up for humans against chess computers. They were going to lose. So he started a thing called advanced chess. And in advanced chess, you have a pair of people and a computer program playing another computer program with another pair of people. Now, what he found was two really important things. First, he found that a human plus the computer program would always beat the computer program on its own. The number one takeaway from everything. Human plus computer trumps either of them on their own. But what he also found was that a not very good pair of players and a computer program would beat a really, really good pair of chess players and a computer program if they had a better process for how they used the skills of the computer program. So the people that understood the technology and understood what they are good at and what the technologies are good at and understood how to meld these together will beat the higher skilled human, because ultimately all of this boils down to human-centered places are where exponential technology meets exponential humanity. Now, before anyone just worries too much about this, Maslow came up earlier. Nothing's really changed. We're still exactly the same. All this nonsense about all kids, all they do is they sit on their phone all day. We're still exactly the same. Don't get worried about it. It's just a changing world. Thank you.